Catholic Family Podcast. And today I have Maddie on, and we are going to talk about a little group called the Tarcissians of the Sacred Heart. So first, before we get started, I kind of wanted to introduce Maddie. She's been on the show before, but it was like a while back. So just to refresh everyone, can you tell us a little about yourself, Maddie?
Sure. So I am a Catholic wife and mother of 4, soon to be 5 children. And 2 of them are official Tarcissians in this group, and one is considered a tiny Tarcissian. We go to Immaculate Heart of Mary Church here in Rosamond, California. So we're in Southern California. And I might just add this here too, because we have a sister parish, which is just an hour away, Queen of Angels. They're in Newhall. And so between the 2 churches, we do share 2 priests, Father Dominic and then Father Gerardo. And so I'll be mentioning them a lot in this podcast. So just so nobody gets too confused, we have the 2 churches pretty close together, and we share the priests. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's kind of all I guess I want to say.
Yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, what is the League of the Tarcissians? I know I want to learn more myself. I think I kind of know some of the basics, but yeah, if you want to like share what exactly it is and what you guys do with it.
Yes. So I have been so excited to be able to do this podcast with you, Michelle. Thank you so much, because especially the month of June, month of the Sacred Heart, and this group really focuses on the Sacred Heart. And so the League of the Tarcissians of the Sacred Heart, it was founded by Father Mateo. I'm going to read just the little explanation here. It was founded by Father Mateo with ecclesiastical approval for the purpose of grouping boys and girls together into a zealous band of apostles of the Sacred Heart, especially to promote the reign of the Sacred Heart in homes and in society through the enthronement of the Sacred Heart in the home. And the Father Mateo, we kind of talked a bit about it, is the same one who did the night adoration in the home, right?
Right.
If you have a booklet. And then he also did this booklet here, which is A Mother's Holy Hour. I know everything's backwards, but he did, and that's actually the book. Yeah, it's a special holy hour to honor mothers, and that's where I actually read about the Tarcissians in the very beginning, and I was like, what is this group? And so I really had to find out more and started digging. And so I kind of, after, I started searching on the internet and stuff, and came up with the story of how he actually started it. So he built this group, and what I liked about it is that it is boys and girls, because for me it's nice that it's kind of more like family oriented, like all my kids can be in it eventually someday. But the story goes, it's so sweet. He was the confessor to this 9-year-old girl, and she, in preparing for her first Holy Communion, she was doing special acts of just reparation and sacrifice and everything, to show her love for our Lord and to prepare herself to receive him. And as a reward, our Lord began to talk to her and like have little conversations with her. And so Father Mateo thought, okay, I don't want this to just be a child's imagination. So he wanted proof. So he asked her to ask Jesus if he could convert this like really terrible sinner that he knew of. And so she did. She asked our Lord, and and he said, tell Father that if he ever wants any souls to just ask me. And he said, and I want you to also ask me for souls. And then he went on to tell her, he said, I want from you, but I want you to be my missionary. And she said, I can't be a missionary. I'm 9 years old. And so our Lord said to her, well, I want you to give me 3 golden pennies. And the golden pennies are key here because they are mentioned over and over in the Tarcissian group. And it's just the sweetest thing. So I'm going to read to you what the pennies represent. So the first golden penny was to be her prayers to him for souls. The second golden penny, her little sacrifices, especially of obedience. And actually in the booklet, if you dig even further and read more, Fridays are kind of like a really big day of like especially doing acts of sacrifice and obedience, which I also find really handy as a mom. So
Yes, good reminder.
kind of nice. The third golden penny is her promise never to miss mass or communion through her own fault. So that's kind of the story where this first even came from, where it started. Of course, the sinner was converted, and I think like 10 years later died in the arms of Father Mateo, just, a really good person. And there is a website, which hopefully we can add that link in there somehow.
Yeah, I'll figure that out.
Okay, yeah, and I think it's just, if you actually just Google like Tarcissians of the Sacred Heart, it pops up, and it's I think the actual website is like the Sacred Heart Holy Hour, but it goes to the Tarcissians. So anyway, it's really sweet, and that is where I really started and was reading, and it tells more in depth the story, how he really started it, how it became this apostolate, how you can start the group, like they have a place where you can buy booklets and stuff to learn more about it, and a lot of good information right there just to start on the website. But anyway, that's the story of how it started, and it was started by him. So
Wow. So do you think back in the day when he first started it, there were a lot of Tarcissians? Do you think it just kind of died
I
off?
think so, but it's really cute because I was brushing up on all this before we, obviously are doing this, but they had to do, so it can be done in a couple of ways. Like you can do it through the schools. So of course back then they had a lot of just big Catholic schools. So they had Catholic schools, and then you could do it in your parish. You can even do it just within your own home. So that's an option. But the sisters who were like in charge of the Tarcissian group, they would put you on probation. Like you couldn't just be a Tarcissian, and they would get like not records, but they would ask people like, okay, I think their parents and also other teachers and stuff, like, how are they behaving? How is, do they do their prayers well? Like, are they obedient? And they had to be on probation before they were allowed to just enter, because this was a solemn thing and a lot more serious, not just a club to belong to. And it's very strongly all about just being, gaining souls and helping souls throughout the world that the children don't know they're helping, but they are. And of course, reparation to the Sacred Heart. So there's just so many beautiful things that come from this. And then the children themselves, it even says in the book here, hold on, it was so good, it was so sweet, because it was talking about like why you would want them to be in it. Okay, because children are the chosen friends of Christ, and as such their prayers are all powerful with the heart of Jesus. Secondly, experience has taught those engaged in this apostolate of the Sacred Heart that children are the most valuable helpers in the work of making the Sacred Heart better known and loved. The third, it is found that the best way of winning families to the Sacred Heart is to win over the children. where the efforts of priests and sisters are fruitless, the children have been able to break the rock and produce unexpected results. And the fourth, it is important to teach children the meaning of sacrifice as an important element in our faith, and especially is this true in view of our present trends in education. So those are just even some reasons why they would want to enlist in this. And it, I think it was a very serious thing. And sadly, I have never heard of it before.
Oh, I can't say I had before you mentioned it a little while back. It was all brand new to me. So it's kind of sad that it kind of went away or just stopped being
Yeah,
practiced.
I
It
don't
isn't
know what
really,
happened.
yeah, exactly. No, I have never heard of it. And it makes me wonder like what happened, like why it stopped, but I would assume maybe during like the changes or something. I mean, who knows? But it was just something that they did back in the good old Catholic days, and then it just never got the chance to make it to today. But it's awesome that you're bringing it back, though. I mean, yeah, it
I'm
sounds like a
really
really
hoping,
amazing thing.
yes. Yes, no, I'm really hoping that this reaches as many people as possible, and just in some form, if anyone would just want to adopt it into their life, their lifestyle. Again, it can be through your parish, through a school, or just privately in your home. Like, you can do any of those. So I don't know, it's just a beautiful group. And so, yeah, we're just trying to help promote it and share it, because it is beautiful. I think I've only met one person who actually knew what I was talking about when I said the Tarcissians, and it wasn't the priests. So I was kind of, even they hadn't heard of it, and they were really excited to start this group as well.
Right. No, that's amazing. So, can you kind of tell me a little bit about what it entails if you do it, how you do it, like if you do it within your church?
Yes. So there isn't like an age limit. It's generally school age, so like kindergarten through 12th grade. And they even say that the younger kids, if they haven't received Holy Communion yet, their golden penny, their third penny, can be a spiritual communion, or even a visit to the Blessed Sacrament. So they're not left out. It's really sweet. And the older kids, because that's quite a wide age range, and the older kids can be mentors to the younger kids, which is really sweet too. In our parish, we have a lot of little children, and we are growing. Like, we're a very young parish at Immaculate Heart of Mary. So this is where, like, I really obviously worked closely with Father Dominic and Father Gerardo, and they had decided, at least for now, we were just going to keep it to elementary level, so elementary school level. And so we have just the younger kids. We do have what I like to call the tiny Tarcissians, which are the younger siblings, because like I even have a 4-year-old Rita, who she's not old enough to be in the group, but she so wants to be, and she doesn't get like her fancy little badge yet. She's not enrolled in it, but when we go to the meetings, it makes it a little bit nicer for the moms, because they don't have to feel like it's just like an older kid thing. We have like a little table. Right. Yeah, we just have like a little table with Play-Doh, and they sit there quietly and play with the Play-Doh while the kids have their meeting with Father. And the way that we kind of run it, I guess I could go through that. They do it on the second Saturday of every month, and it starts with Mass. So they go to Mass, and they wear these badges. So here's one.
It's so official. That's so cute.
I know it's backwards, but it has their names. So this one says Jack, and it says Tarcissians of the Sacred Heart, Immaculate Heart of Mary Catholic Church. And the ones at Queen of Angels, they have the same badges, but of course theirs say Queen of Angels Catholic Church. Right. It's got this little thing on. And it's got Saint Tarcisius. Now, I don't exactly know how he is connected to this. Like, I don't know why he was chosen.
Wondering if there was some connection between Saint Tarcisius and the group, but
I'm not sure. But I mean, and see, here he is on our banner. I have the banner behind me, but we have the Sacred Heart, and then he's over here, right? And so I think it's more of just he is like their inspiration, their motto. But anyway, so they're Saint Tarcisius receiving the Blessed Sacrament. And so they wear those to every Mass. Father said, I would like them to wear their badges to every Mass because I want them to separate themselves from everyone else. And also it kind of draws curiosity, and that way other children will be like, well, I want to be a Tarcissian, you know, so it helps in that way too. So they go to Mass, they wear their little badges. They then, afterwards, we do like a quick breakfast. They have a little break, and then they go into the back and they do a meeting with Father. And this is where, again, like for anyone who wanted to start their own group, they talk about a lot of this in, it's called, so this, hopefully I'll, you can't read it, it's all backwards, but it's the League of Tarcissians of the Sacred Heart.
Oh, it's like a pamphlet on it.
This is like an official pamphlet that tells everything, and it's from the National Enthronement Center. So this is online, and you can order it and get all the information, and it tells you how to do pretty much almost everything, but we still kind of tweaked it. Definitely did it to where it kind of fit more our parish needs. And then also, I think there were some prayers, like it said, do a consecration. And I don't remember if we had a consecration or if Father came up with one, like he had one that he wanted the kids to say, things like that. So we kind of did a lot of tweaking to make it work. But anyway, so they do their meeting, and it starts with some little prayers. And so this, I laminate everything, so all the kids get one of these. Nice. And it has in here just the prayers that they're supposed to say, which the first one is, Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, I love thee. The second is, Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, thy kingdom come. And then kind of like a short litany. But they say that those are like their prayers, like the Tarcissian prayers. And then after they do that, I do like a roll call, and it's the cutest thing ever because you don't really like get in trouble if you're not there, but the kids love to hear their names called, and then they say, oh, present, you know, like especially the little ones, they like wait for their name, present, you know, it's so cute.
You see that for the tiny Tarcissians also, like all the kids there.
I don't just because they're already like distracted. They're usually already just playing. But if they're over there, I do know to like just kind of add them in. But otherwise, it's just for the main group. And then Father gives a talk. And I mean, these talks are just the sweetest things ever. And that's where the priests really come in. So I might be the person who's behind the scenes, making badges, you know, setting up the agenda, telling the moms when the meeting is, oh, it got canceled, oh, it's changed to this date. But ultimately, it all comes down to the priests. And so far, we've only had Father Gerardo, but they did talk about sometimes even switching so that the kids get both, you know, both priests, which would be kind of cool to be able to experience that for them. But these talks are so sweet because it's child level. They're so simple and sweet, and it's different every time. It could be on, you know, the importance of the Blessed Sacrament and, you know, their souls, and just, I mean, it's just precious. It's so sweet, and the kids come away with a lot. You know, they really listen. They see, you know, Father, and they pay attention. So it's so good for them. And he's very good about making sure he doesn't talk too long. Like he can tell, okay, they're getting antsy. We're just going to make, you know. Yeah. And then after that, they go into the church, and They do what's called a holy hour. It is not an hour.
Oh, I'm gonna say that for young kids could be.
Yeah, that would be really hard, but it is a visit, and he takes them in, and they have, again, like special prayers that they do. And he even talks a little bit more to them in there. And this past time, a couple of the tiny Tarcissians got to go in because they're just so borderline. So they got to go in with him, and it's just really sweet. I know I keep saying that, but it's just precious. Like, the kids are just so cute. So they do that with him. And then when he comes back with all the kids, they go in the church, and then they all come back. And it finishes up with a hymn. Now, there is a Tarcissian song that was in the booklet, but once again, Father, he actually preferred the song, "O Sacred Heart," which I don't know if we can link that as well, but I mean, there are so many sacred songs. This is not, you have to do this one. This is the one we do. So it's "O Sacred Heart." And it's perfect. It really is the perfect song. And then that's pretty much the end of the meeting. And we've been doing this since October, I think. October was their enrollment ceremony. And again, that can be any time of the year. It did suggest either doing it on the Feast of St. Tarcisius, which is also the Feast of the Assumption. So that's kind of a big day. So Feast of St. Tarcisius, or Feast of Christ the King, which is what we did in October.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we did it on that day. Or it could be a First Friday, but really it could be any time. We did it on that particular feast day, and the kids all got like a special blessing. Their badges all got blessed, and they all ran up. It was actually very impressed. I was impressed because we had a practice run, and I told them, okay, you guys are gonna be scattered all over the place, but you all have to be in your spot, because otherwise Father's not gonna know your name with you, or he's gonna be looking for your name on your badge, so we tried to make it super easy. And it was like a little, I don't know, little military drill. They all went up and they got in their little spot, and they knew exactly where to go. And even the parents were impressed. So I was like,
so cool.
That was
Kids are so good at that. Like, when they know they have high expectations, like, they always meet them, and it's impressive. Like, oh, okay. Like, I feel like it just makes them feel like a little adult, and they just love that. So that's so sweet.
No, it's so true. And I mean, once again, these are just ones that I found online, but
I was wondering, so did you just personalize them?
I did. And actually, here's one. This one actually got messed up, but here's like the pink. So we had pink for the girls.
Oh, okay.
Because it was different colors on both sides. That's not. But anyway, blue for the boys, we had pink for the girls. But so I changed the colors on that, did their names and everything. I was surprised they had such a thing even that existed.
Right. So you could otherwise off then from one of those sites. Is that
so I ordered it from, I think it was like Zazzle. I couldn't tell you which shop it was. But again, I just punched in like Tarcissian badge, and these came up.
Oh,
and so I was kind of surprised, because I'm not very crafty. I mean, I have these great ideas, but to actually do it, because I was like, oh, maybe we could like crochet like a picture of St. Tarcisius and like, do something really pretty. And then I found these, and they're nice and durable. And then they do have the clips, so they can just clip on and off every time they, go to mass and stuff and change their outfits. And the kids all wear them. They also wear them when we do processions. And that's a big reason why we got the banner. Is that we can carry that for like the rosary processions.
Oh, so do the Tarcissians hold that up then if you do a procession? Okay, that's really neat. I bet they.
Yeah, so there's their own little separate thing. And Father was like so pleased with that and said, I want them right behind me. And we'll just, go for the rosary procession. And so we have this for those. And then also for their meetings, we hang it up. Again, I know it's backwards, but it says
It's actually not. For me, it's not backwards. So
it's not?
Yeah, I don't know how that worked
Oh,
out. It actually looks perfect from my view. So hopefully everyone else sees it how I see it. But, yeah.
Oh, I hope so. Oh my
gosh.
This whole time I'm like apologizing. Sorry, you can't see. Well, it's all backwards to me. So that's why I was like, maybe it'll be, I don't know. I love the banner. Once again, I'm not very good with things like this, but I really put this banner in Our Lady's hands and I was like, please help me figure out how to do this. And this is what we came up with. And I was happy with that. And I think,
really nice. So did you find that also online, or was that something you just created like from your own?
It was a banner place online, and then I picked like the background. I guess I built it, in the sense like I picked the background and then I picked the images and the sizing and the wording. But I mean, even those are so easy to do and make. I think even at Queen of Angels, they have somebody who I think made it or had like a banner and they were going to do something to it. So, I mean, there's definitely far more creative ways to do these things. But it's just nice to have all these extra little tidbits that make it official.
Right. Well, I feel like when you can see it, it's just so much more meaningful to me and adults, but also especially for kids. Like you see these things and they're physical, you can touch them and it's like it really comes to life. So that's super cool.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, do the priests come up with their own discussions, like, or do they kind of follow something from a book, or is it just from what they want to talk about?
They do their own thing, and which is perfect because I feel like they always know what the kids need to hear, or they just know these things. So they just come up with it and they do it, and it's always really wonderful. So
right, and then also like, because I know in our situation, our priests are kind of changing a lot. Like we have several different priests who kind of come and go. And I was just curious, does a priest need to really do it for it to be like at the church, or could a lay person give a talk? Or I'm sure it would be recommended for a priest to give the talk, but if he's not available, like could someone else step in and do that?
I think so. I was, once again reading in here, it could be, like it said the director or whoever is appointed to do that. And I mean, I don't see why not, again, like you said, it's always ideal to have the priests, but if they even, say, no, go ahead and have so-and-so do it, I mean, there's really no reason why not to. And that's, I guess, where I'm kind of going with this too. Like, it's really, you can do it however you would want, whatever fits your needs. Because I mean, we definitely changed a lot of things and tweaked it and, that kind of a thing. So it's nice that you can do that.
Right. No, that's really nice. You're not married to an exact form. You can kind of make it work to how you'd like it. That's really really helpful, especially since there's so many different parishes with different needs and stuff. So that's nice. You can kind of customize it. So would it be a similar format if you were to just do it in your home, or is that kind of different?
No, I think it would be, so you wouldn't do, it even says in here, if you do it privately, you wouldn't do like a like a group enrollment or anything, but you would do it within your own home. And again, it goes back to just those golden pennies. And as long as they are Well, I even have kind of a list here of what the Tarcissians are asked to do, and to recite frequently those prayers. The most sacred heart of Jesus, I love thee. And most sacred heart of Jesus, thy kingdom come. To assist Mass often, to offer Holy Communion for the social reign of the Sacred Heart once a month or once a week, to make half an hour of adoration and reparation once a month for the Sacred Heart. So that could even be like if you actually go and do, I would even think like your night adoration at home, or if you did like a holy hour at the church, like those could count, you know what I mean? And especially if, a lot of this too, I will say, even though there are the meetings and we do these just once a month, a lot of this does fall back on, again, the moms or, whoever's at home, because you need to constantly remind them that this is what you're doing. Remember, you're a Tarcissian, and especially, for me in the month of June, I've really been kind of, really telling my kids that, like, look, you're a Tarcissian, and the Sacred Heart of Jesus needs you right now. Like, now more than ever, he needs your love. Just love him, say these prayers. You need to constantly be thinking about him. So a lot of it is in the home anyway,
Right.
And then sorry, let me finish the list.
Totally.
It also says to offer frequently, especially on Fridays, sacrifices and acts of obedience for the Sacred Heart. And then it does say to faithfully assist at meetings and feasts of the Tarcissian group, and to make the 9 First Fridays. So that's something else, again,
Okay, so the 9 First Fridays, is that like a goal to attain, or is that something that's like a requirement? Because I'm like, ooh, that's
not a requirement. In fact, none of it is required, because it even says, like, in the booklet, like, you can gain, I think there's certain indulgences. I don't know, I don't remember like what exactly you have to do, like where you would get those, but no, just, it all really comes down to, again, it's just, it has to do with the Sacred Heart. And so, I mean, honestly, I've been trying to do the 9 First Fridays with my boys since they received their first Holy Communion last year. And like, we've had to start over, I don't know how many times, just because something happens, or we are sick every time. This past week, we were coming up on First Friday, and people around us were getting sick, and I seriously thought to myself, we're going to get sick because it's First Friday. Like, it always happens. And I just know it's, the devil trying to just mess with me. And I'm like,
I know, mess you up.
Yeah.
I also don't know if it's like sometimes God kind of being like, well, you have to start over, so I'm going to see you more often. So I think either way you look at it, but I mean, obviously it's really good to do the First Fridays, but it is hard, especially with kids.
Yeah. So, I mean, we go when we can. And it just really has to do with, again, just the Sacred Heart, and like you said, that the night adoration in the home, like, that's just all, giving our Lord that attention that he needs, and that love that he needs, because he's not getting it from anyone else, anywhere else. And the children can give so much better, their innocence and their sweetness, and just, that's what he asked, right? Let the children come unto me. And so this group is just so special for that reason too. Like, it's so perfect.
Right. So if you did want to try and start in June with that, like, even if you just did it within your home and then did the actual enrollment on a First Friday or a feast, is that something you could try and do? Because I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to get some of June in, because it's obviously the month of the Sacred Heart. But yeah, that's I guess there's stuff you'd have to get together and everything. But do you think that there's like not too much that you have to do just to get started? Is it pretty simple to get going?
It is, if it's for the parish, I would say that'd be a little bit harder, because, like I said, it took me a few months to get things worked out. just between me and Father Dominic and Father Gerardo to make sure we were all on the same page, know what they wanted. Because Father Dominic then started at Queen of Angels, their little group, shortly after we had finally got established. But I kind of had to help Father work on an agenda and kind of figure out what we wanted to do. And there were a lot of things that weren't in the book that said we should do, but it wasn't there. So we kind of had to figure that out. So that was a little trickier. But if it was just within your home, really, I feel like all you would need is, again, this booklet,
right,
which is, it has, and it goes, there's a lot more in here that we're not even touching. That's, really, really neat. But I mean, I think this would be really it is what you really need, and then kind of go from there.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not too difficult.
Right. No, that's a good idea though. If you even just started in your home, and then if you were to do it in your parish, obviously you'd have to do some more research and digging, but yeah, it sounds like starting in your home would be pretty simple. So that's a good thought. So are there any kind of closing thoughts you want to add? I think we've kind of gone over most everything. I mean, I know I've learned a lot, so.
No, I think that we definitely covered everything that I had hoped to. So, really the only thing I would really just want to say is those who are Tarcissians or have started, maybe, because I'm sure there are people out there who do know of this and maybe they're doing it already. But I think just really making sure that, in your own home, that they really realize how special and important it is to belong to this group. And then I just really hope and pray that this does really go out to other people and really, enlighten them to also start these groups, because like we said earlier, I don't know what happened. I don't know why this disappeared, but it is so beautiful. And we are, in our times, the children, the prayers of the children are so needed and so important. And the Sacred Heart is so not loved that, they can at least give him some consolation. And it's just a beautiful thing. And so I really, really hope that this just gets out to everyone. And hopefully we explained a lot so that it's not too crazy. We talked about a lot of different things. So that's all really I have to say. So.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know I definitely want to start. I was trying kind of before, but this is okay, I need to just buckle down and do it, because yeah, knowing how important it is and special and just how good for your kids. I mean, how much better just for everything in your home if you're united to the Sacred Heart, and just for them to see how special it is. And I mean, I know I could even improve on adoration to the Sacred Heart. It's that's true. I'm sure it'll even help me in my devotion. So that's another, because I feel like a lot of times with children, when you're teaching them, that's when I learn the most, is because it's okay, you're teaching and then you're also learning. So that's another perk. So
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Maddie. I'm really happy that you could talk about it. And yeah, I'm really hopeful that this will spread and get to a lot of people, and that everyone will start having their own little Tarcissian meetings. So yeah, this was great. I really appreciate it. All right. Well,
thanks
again, Maddie. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.